How do I communicate effectively? How do I comprehend effectively? How do I deal with my emotions? How do I deal with my anger? How do I deal with disappointment? All these questions will be answered. Today's episode of the I Can Project, I have the distinct honor and privilege of speaking with Coach E. Coach E is an emotional intelligence coach and also a relationship coach. Erin Darden is going to tell you her story and also answer these questions for you. This is the I Can Project. Come with us. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I have the distinct honor of speaking with a friend, colleague, someone that I've known for, how many years now?
It's about 7.
About 7 years.
I didn't realize it's been that long.
It's been that long. Coach E herself, Miss Erin Darden, thank you for joining us at the I Can Project. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Why wouldn't I have you?
I
don't know. So, the premise of the show is, and it's not a podcast, it's a show. It's visual. I want people to see you.
Absolutely.
The premise of the show is to not just motivate, but also teach, right? And the I Can Project is broken down into 3 parts. I can be, I can overcome, and I can build. And we're little, that's our roadmap. So you know some kind of roadmap, surprise, surprise, right? I never let no one know ahead of time what's gonna be discussed, but that's the premise. So we're gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
Before we even jump right into it, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
About me.
About you.
Okay, so
Spotlight.
I am Erin. I am originally from Philadelphia. Been in the DC area for almost 7 years.
You might as well say you're a DC native now.
Now. And you know my Birds are playing tonight, so I can't.
You can't claim it.
Especially not today.
You're not a Commanders fan? Okay.
My Birds are playing today.
Yeah, I got you.
So, really from Philly. I came here from North Carolina. Because, of course, I went to the best law school ever.
The best.
The North Carolina Central.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said the.
Yes.
I'll put some respect.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I've been in the DC area for about 7 years.
Okay.
By trade, I am an attorney.
Yes.
But by purpose,
I like how
I am a coach.
What kind of coach? Tell us.
So I am an emotional intelligence and relationship coach.
All right. So, I had to respect your gangster when you told me that, right? What is an emotional? I know you get that. Yeah, I know you get asked that a lot.
Absolutely.
What is an emotional intelligence coach?
So emotional intelligence, just to start with the word or the term, is about being able to recognize and identify your emotions.
Okay.
But also recognizing other people's emotions and how your emotions can affect other people, and using this awareness to manage your relationships. So for an example, if I know that when you come home from work, you need 15 minutes to debrief, but I've been in the house all day, I'm upset and I need to talk, right? By knowing that you need time to debrief, it's me not coming as soon as you walk in the door. Let me tell you what happened, right? It's giving you your space. Even I know I'm upset,
Gotcha.
but taking the time to process my emotions before I come to communicate them. And so it really helps with relationship management, conflict resolution. A lot of the work that I do is around effective communication.
Okay.
So it's just being aware of your emotions, recognizing when you are feeling an emotion and which emotion you're feeling, because people tend to limit their range of emotions.
Correct.
And knowing how that
people.
can...
I'm people.
And knowing how that affects other people around you and how you need to manage those emotions to have a healthy relationship.
You make it. I mean, the definition, you simplified it, right? You very much so simplified it. But one thing I'm realizing about human beings, people, including myself, is emotions are not that simple.
Emotions are simple once you recognize what your emotions are, what you're feeling, and how they tend to present in yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say something that's probably gonna be counterproductive or
Go for it.
counterintuitive.
Let's see what happens.
I'm very big on logic.
Okay.
Logic over emotions. Because that's what makes sense to me. It actually frightens me when people come with emotions, because logic I can handle. Emotions, if you tell me right now I feel angry. There's nothing I can do. It's how you feel. I can't say, how do you feel angry? What did I do? That's how you feel. I can't control that.
Right.
Logic, I can. So, go ahead. I know you want to go ahead and say something, but go ahead.
So here's the thing. So you can't be emotional and logical at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. There's two different parts of your brain. So back up a little bit. You know how sometimes men say, I don't have emotions. That's not true.
That's not true.
Everybody has emotions, right? And so the way that signals go to our brain is through like our spinal cord.
Yes.
And so the front part of your brain is the reasoning part. That's where you think, that's the logical part.
Yeah.
The middle part of your brain is the emotional part.
Okay.
So before it can get to the logic part of your brain and you can think about it, it has to pass through the emotional brain. So when somebody comes or is acting out of emotion, it just hasn't passed to the logical part, right?
Gotcha.
They get stuck in the emotional part. And so emotional intelligence is the balance of the two. You're allowed to feel your emotions, but you got to keep going till you get to the logical part
Gotcha.
to think about it. So yes, I'm angry. Like you said, there's nothing you can do about it. That is a fact. But once you get to the logical part, well, what triggered your anger? What about that made you upset? And how do you deal with that moving forward?
I got you. Again, see, you. And I can't speak for anybody else, but I can speak for me.
Absolutely.
So I guess this is my session, right? This is my session, right? So let's use that theory, right?
Okay.
Because I'm energy. I realize human beings we feed off of energy. I'm a human being as well, so I feed off of energy. So if someone comes at me rah-rah, right? Angry. Like you said, sometimes how I receive it, it's still at that emotional part. And sometimes in my mind, I'm like, I'm finna give you back the energy you're giving me. Because if you come at me with love, you're gonna get love.
Right.
If you come at me with anger, you just might get, and I'm Nigerian, so our anger is a little bit multiplied, right? But I'm learning myself. I'm learning to, again, try to, I'm glad you used that reference, make sure it goes all the way to the front part where that logic kicks in. And if my logic is, I'm just gonna walk away from you right now, because I'm not gonna deal with this. So what would you advise? Because again, if I come at you with anger, you're gonna get what you give, right? What are your thoughts on that?
So I try not to do that.
Okay.
So this is part of the emotional intelligence. So there's 4 components. The first one is self-awareness. So once recognizing what you are experiencing. The second one is self-managing. So once I know that I'm angry, how am I going to exhibit that?
Okay.
But the third part is empathy, right?
Okay.
So if you come to me and you're angry, me being empathetic or being empathetic is about stepping into your shoes and understanding where you are and why you are feeling that way. So if you're coming at me and you're angry, it's up to me to figure out, well, what is he angry about?
But is it up to me? Again, me, I can't speak for anybody else.
Yep.
I have this thing, appreciate versus understand. Can I appreciate what you're telling me? Okay, well, I'm angry because you didn't put the dishes away. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just something simple. Do I necessarily have to understand it right then and there? I can appreciate it and say, you know what, you're angry right now. I appreciate that emotion. But why do I have to understand it? Because no comprende. If it doesn't comprehend, if I don't understand, I don't understand.
And see, so I would actually look at it at the opposite.
Okay.
I understand that you're angry because I didn't put the dishes away,
Okay.
period. But I don't appreciate the way that you're exhibiting that being upset, right? So it's not for me to judge your feelings. I think appreciation kind of is a judgment of feelings,
Okay.
which just is unnecessary. I understand that you're upset that I didn't put the dishes away, period.
Okay.
Now, so once you're angry with me and I understand why, there's no need for me to give you that energy back. I apologize for not putting the dishes away. It's nothing to argue about.
Yeah.
I guess. So I think being empathetic, it helps you as a person, like that now I understand what's going on with you now I can quickly work to try and fix that.
Got you.
I apologize, I'll go put them away right now.
Yeah.
You might still be upset, and again, there's nothing I can do about that. However, I understand what I did wrong. I can fix it,
Yeah.
and that's the end of it.
Huh. You tapped into something else, and I know most guys, I don't want to say most guys. I can't speak for most guys.
Okay.
I can speak for me.
Absolutely.
This guy is the being apologetic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm about to say something I try not to use the word I'm sorry a lot.
Okay.
Okay. I may sometimes use I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Or I may, because the way I look at life is, you could tell me you're sorry a billion times, but if you keep on doing it over and over again, then that's just disrespectful. I don't even want the I'm sorry
Absolutely.
at this point. For me, actions speak louder than
Yep.
words. So don't even tell me I'm sorry. Just do better. If you know better, do better kind of situation. What are your thoughts on the apology? Because you said it, like as soon as you said, I apologize, and I was just like, do you really apologize, or do you just next time in that situation, just put the dishes away next time and not apologize?
So I think an apology is still sometimes necessary, at least to hear. I think we've been conditioned to, like, even when you're a kid and your kid does something wrong, you make them apologize, right?
Yeah.
Whether they mean it or not. So I think we have been conditioned to hear an apology, and I think there is still some comfort in knowing that, the person is acknowledging what they did was wrong, and that they've triggered whatever emotion out of you. So I think there is still a need for an apology. Of course, change behavior is better. So I think there is still a need for it, but I think it has to be coupled with the change behavior. Like, I'll do better next time. Yeah, that helps, but I think the I apologize still makes, yeah. And I think sometimes it is not about being sorry, because you meant the action sometimes, right? You just didn't mean for it to impact the person the way that it did. So that's the part that you are apologizing for.
So how it impacted you. I sometimes make a statement, which is, again, me. I don't know, maybe I'm the odd one. Maybe it's me, right? Where and it's a cop-out. I know it's a cop-out. I sometimes even say this for my wife, I apologize. I'll sometimes say this just to tick her off a little bit more. Because I could be petty. It's just what it is. I'm human. Grace, right?
Right.
Where I say, I can't control how you feel. Right? I can't control how you feel. So if my intention, because life is about intent. What did I intend? What was my intention when I said this, when I did this? If my intent came from a positive place, but it impacted you in a negative way, I can't control that.
This time.
Okay, what's the difference between this time and next time?
So if you were to say something to your wife and it triggers her, obviously you didn't mean it that way, right? You said it, had you known it was going to affect her like that, I would like to believe you would not have said it the way that you said it, or whatever the trigger was.
Correct.
Had you known it was going to upset her the way that it did, or impact her the way that it did, I'm sure you wouldn't have said it that way or said that.
Yeah.
Right? So this time, you kind of get a pass, even though her feelings are still valid.
Correct.
But the next time that you do it, you know how I'm going to respond if you do this. You know that whatever this statement is a trigger for me, and for you to continue to...
Got you.
You know what I mean? You're triggering me on purpose. Right? Now, granted, at the same time, it may also be something that the other person needs to work on, like, why is this a trigger? But it's two people in a relationship, right? So I need to work on my trigger, but you also have to be loving enough to not trigger me intentionally.
What? That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. I can be, but it's not about me.
Absolutely.
It's not always about me.
Exactly.
It's her fault most of the time. I'm messing around. I'm messing. Edit that one out, Leroy, please. But okay, so you said you're an emotional intelligence coach. Do you work with only men or solely women, or both?
So I work with women.
Okay.
Only because...
I was about to say, wait a minute now. I'm feeling some type of way.
So when I first started this, I wanted to work with men.
Okay.
Men, however, do not invest financially in relationship help, is what I've found.
Wise.
And so I work with women,
Okay.
but it will have a trickle down effect, obviously, to whomever their partner is.
Correct.
I also work with couples, so to that extent,
Okay.
I get to work with both.
Gotcha.
But women are more receptive of the help. Men usually only come get help once the wife or girlfriend, whomever, says, "We need help. Let's go do."
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Because I was starting to feel some type
Absolutely
of
not.
way. So how's that journey been? And we're gonna talk a little bit about the transition.
Okay.
I'm holding off on that. But the journey of being an emotional intelligence coach, working solely with women, and what are your big takeaways? So, matter of fact, like, when did you start as an emotional intelligence coach? I know the answer, but I don't.
So I started. When did I have? So
Officially start, because I'm sure all your life you've probably been an emotional intelligence
So officially
coach.
start. So I really believe that it's my purpose.
Okay.
When did I kind of get that realization or that enlightenment? I would say it was January, because I was fasting at the time. Maybe January 2018.
Okay.
2018, 2017.
Okay.
I was fasting, trying to figure out, what it is I was created for. Like, why am I here? Like, that was the purpose of my fast.
Yeah.
And I was actually reading T.D. Jakes' book, Identity.
Okay.
And I just, kept going through the book. I was fasting from like everything. Like the computer, like everything. So I had a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't quite figure it out. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she said, well, what if the reason that everybody comes to you, that has something to do with your purpose? I was like, I never thought about that, because I always kind of, being transparent, thought it was kind of a burden. Like, why does everybody want me? Like, I make stuff up most of the time. Like, I make it
red
up.
fish, blue fish.
Yeah, but it's like people
Penguin.
have like you said, my whole life, people have been drawn to me or asked me questions. And until she said that, I never thought about it being a gift until she said that. And so I kind of, when God talks to me sometimes, he just kind of like drops things.
Yeah.
So he like woke me up literally in the middle of the night and was like, coaching. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I
Where my
didn't
whistle
really
at?
know, right? Like, I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
And so I did my research on different programs, and the program that I chose, they had a certification in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
I didn't know what that was at the time.
Yeah.
So I was actually talking to like the recruiter or and I was like, So I was explaining to him, like, people always come to me for help when I don't know why, because most of the time I don't give advice. Like, I ask questions to help them figure it out. And he was like, but that's exactly what coaching is. And I was like, oh, okay. And so as we just started talking more, he was like, I think emotional intelligence is like your thing.
Yeah.
And so even in the first couple of classes, I was like, okay, this is my thing.
Yeah.
So it's how I got that certification. And at that time, I know we're going to talk about the transition later, I got a chance to actually use it myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this actually works.
What do you mean you got to use it
So like
yourself?
the skills of emotional intelligence,
Okay.
so it's actually usually taught in the workplace. So if you ever see like a training or something, they're usually talking about like leadership in work or how to manage your subordinates, like that type of dynamic relationship. And I actually got to use that in my working environment.
Okay.
So I was able to improve that relationship. And then I was like, well, let's see if it works over here.
Got you.
And it did. And so that's kind of how it came about.
I see.
I'll give more details whenever we talk about the
Yeah.
transition. So that's how I kind of came up with this idea. I had no idea what it is.
Yeah.
And so the tricky part is that because it's usually in the workplace, I'm taking it outside of the workplace. And I don't know anybody else that's doing that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky because it's kind of like I'm making it up as I go. Like I'm trying to figure it out, which is both good and like, I don't know, is this going to work? Is it not?
Yeah.
So it's like
You
I'm
don't have
all
a
over the
reference
place. I don't
point.
have a roadmap, right?
Got you.
So that can be definitely tricky. But I enjoy it. Most people don't know that one, what emotional intelligence is.
Yes, I'm most people.
Yeah, or that they even need it, right? And so that's why I add the "and" relationship coach on it.
Gotcha.
My certification is actually emotional intelligence and life coaching. But it benefits relationships, right?
Gotcha.
Because it teaches you how to communicate, it teaches you how to problem solve,
Yeah.
right? And knowing who you are, like the self-awareness. These are all of the things that can make any relationship healthy, not just
Correct.
in the workplace.
Correct.
And I think romantic relationships are more important than work relationships.
Yeah.
And you can quit a job and you
And
be over
keep
your
it
balls.
pushing, yeah.
But your romantic relationships impact your life forever.
You could quit a romantic relationship
And
and
it's
keep
still-
it pushing.
And it still impacts your life forever.
This is true. Well, does it?
It does. An unhealthy romantic relationship,
Trauma. Yeah. Okay. You're because you will bring that trauma with you.
absolutely.
And as we all have at some point,
Yep.
or still do, right?
Absolutely.
But you touched on something very big, and you've not seen my notes, but I have notes.
Okay.
And you touched on something a key part where you said one of the key components on a relationship, whether workplace, romantic, whatever it may be, is communication. Okay. What would you say as an emotional intelligence coach, Coach E, and also a relationship coach? On communication, what would you say your top 3 things are? Top 3 on communication. And now we don't want you to give away because we want folks to come to you, but this is a teaser to let them know the product.
The top 3 things
Top
on
3.
communication. So I actually have a whole series on YouTube on communication.
I know. I've seen
So-
it.
My top 3, I would have to say, number 1 is make sure you process your emotions before you go to communicate. Process your emotions first.
Yeah, I'm guilty of not doing that
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Because when you're talking out of emotion, like I said, you can't be emotional and logical at the same time. So it's like, what's the point of this? Like, we're
Correct.
not going to get anywhere. It's going to be a
Correct.
ball of emotions, and it's not
Yeah,
going to be
it's
productive,
not
right?
pretty at all.
And I don't argue at all. So like, you can express yourself, but I'm not.
Oh, that right there would be very. Ooh. So you're saying, no, that right there would. That's a trigger right there, right?
That I don't argue.
That you don't argue.
People are always usually surprised by that.
No, it's not even surprising. I'm just saying, just imagine your significant other is feeling some type of way, and they're expressing how they feel. And in their mind, they're because you know how we usually are, oh, I got this argument, I'm about to crush it. And you're just like, okay.
So I understand. I hear you. Like,
Yeah.
I always acknowledge.
Got you.
I understand what you're saying. Or if I don't,
Yeah.
if what I hear you saying is, right, so the point is for me, I always try to get to what's the real issue.
Gotcha.
Because most of the time what we're yelling about is
Yeah,
not even.
it's not the real issue.
So I always
correct.
try to, we need to get to the.
Correct.
Right? I
Correct.
understand you're upset. I understand you're upset and all of that. You can get it out. But then we need to, like, because what are we doing?
That's tough. I can't, like, I'm trying to be a fly on the wall, right? When someone is coming at you with this big ball of emotion. And again, I don't want to speak for human beings. I can speak for myself, but I am a human being as well. We're so used to when I come expressing verbally, emotionally, however I'm expressing myself, we're so used to the other person matching us.
Yeah.
And that would be to us, right? To us, that's okay, this person, I guess that's that past emotional trauma that anger begets anger. And it only makes sense to me when you're angry back at me, right? Like, I'm showing you all this emotion. Why are you so calm right now? Like, you shouldn't be calm. I'm used to
Yeah.
someone else coming back at me.
And so I think because this is my demeanor, I don't get a lot of that.
Okay.
I think I actually get the opposite of the shut down, don't talk to me. But that's like one of the worst things you could do to me.
Yeah.
You're not gonna not talk to me.
To me.
I'm fine. It's fine if you need to process things,
Yeah.
if you need time, but you need to communicate that. Like, I have stopped talking to more than one person.
Yeah.
If I did something that upset you,
Yeah.
you need to communicate that. Don't not talk to me for
But
days
that's
and-
tough. I know. Emotional intelligence coach, and we need to put on our big boy pants
At least
and
just
be
say,
able to communicate.
I need time. You got to tell me something. You can't throw a hissy fit or a temper tantrum with me.
I'm not disputing that at all. But as a man, I can speak for the man population.
Okay.
It's hard to talk, to disclose when I am not comfortable disclosing. So being raised from a boy to a young man to a man, you've been taught, right? Programmed that you deal with your issues, you deal with your emotions. Why are you talking about this? Who really cares, right? Me as a man, I know, and it's probably unhealthy as hell, but it is what it is at this point in my life. I know when people ask you, how's your day going, right? Do they really want to know how you, because we all dealing with our own BS, right? We're all dealing with, and I tell folks, please don't ask me that if you don't really mean it, because I'm dealing with ish.
Right.
And if you asking me, how's my day going? What's going on? I'm gonna let you know, right? But most people don't genuinely. And again, your significant other, whomever you're dealing with,
Right.
should care enough
Absolutely.
to just not just simply, it's just not a conversation piece, right? But going back to what I was originally trying to say, as men, speaking for myself, if this is how you've been doing something a certain way for 30 years of your life, and then you come across someone that's now saying, you need to deprogram yourself. 30 years, you need to literally do a 180, and this is not how it's normally done. That's not an easy task.
Absolutely not. And the 180 doesn't have to be immediately.
Okay.
Right? This is what we were talking about earlier. It has to be both sides working on it.
Okay.
Right? If I'm saying I need you to at least communicate that you need time before you stop talking to me, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking you to do for me. But I'm going to give you the grace and the space that you need. But I'm letting you know that I also need you to just communicate that one thing. You can even text me, I need some time. I need some space. Right? There has to be a compromise. We both have to be working on this, right? I have to give you the grace to grow.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, you also have to be willing to work on it. Right? And so I'm also, in addition to me saying, hey, I just need you to communicate when you need space,
Yeah.
I also need to make sure that I am doing what I can to let you know that this is a safe space emotionally for you.
Yeah.
Right? Emotional safety is really big for me. So
Yeah.
I have to give you that same, especially because I know men don't usually get there. Like
Usually is an understatement.
yeah, like the last guy that I dated, he was like, you know, you like the first person to ask me like how I'm doing, and that was like crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're 40 something years old.
Yeah.
And I'm the first person to ask you like consistently how you doing, like mean it, like that's wild.
Yeah, because no one cares.
But I think that's crazy.
No one cares. Chris Rock said it best. There's this joke that Chris Rock said. He said, no one cares about men. They care about children, women, and dogs. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's terrible.
It is. But if that's all you have known, genuinely no. Like unconditional love. My son, so you said God wakes you up and just tells you. Me, he knows I'm child-minded, so I learn through my son. Like
Okay.
my son is the Holy Spirit speaking to me. And unconditional love, it's kids. Kids give, because all they want is time. They don't really want anything from you. They just want your time. Can you play with me? Can you read with me? Can you watch this movie with me? That's it. That is pure. If you want it, pure unconditional love. Because as human beings, there's always a condition added to it. This for that, we are transactional human beings, or transactional creatures. So we're used to if there's something attached to, can I be comfortable around you? Can I be emotionally comfortable around you? There's gonna be something attached to it. And I can't speak for all men, but I can speak for myself. Once that trust is betrayed, I don't think you can ever get that back. For me, anyway. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I'm working on grace. I'm working on that word called grace. But once that is betrayed, it's damn near impossible.
But I think that, and not to make this a gender thing,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
usually like to do that, but I think this is something that women have to deal with all the time, right? We think that whomever our partner is a safe space. It may not be necessarily emotionally,
Yeah.
right? But once that trust is betrayed, right? Like even if it's, I don't know if we want to talk about sexual, but like,
Go.
even if, like, let's just say that's a common example, right?
Yeah.
If your partner is trusting you and you betray that trust by going to sleep with somebody else,
Yeah.
it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? And so this is why you guys have to agree to be on the same page, to
Yeah.
be a safe space for each other, right? And
Gotcha.
so the condition is you be a safe space for me, I be a safe space for you, right? We gotta work together. This has to be a team. I got your back, you got my back.
Got you. What is the probability of that, though?
I think it's increasing.
Okay.
I think it's increasing. Social media would have you think that healthy relationships are dead, and
Correct.
I
don't-
do not.
yeah, I'm with you.
I don't agree with that, especially because I am also a matchmaker.
Okay. Ooh, oh, we about to go there. Let's go. Let's go.
So I am also a matchmaker. So the company that I work for, everybody goes through an interview. Everybody goes through a background check.
Okay.
Right, and so
It's not Tinder, is it? No, I know it's not. I'm messing around.
So
Go ahead.
in these interviews, I have been pleasantly surprised. Like, so there's a couple of things that I ask everybody. So one of it is, what is it that you need your partner to understand about you?
Okay.
And then the other one is, like, I ask them their ideas around, like, gender roles, finances, and all of that. And so whereas, right, sometimes I expect the women to say, oh, he needs to pay for everything. He
Yeah.
needs to do this. But because of the caliber of people that we invite to the community, right?
Yeah. I like how you use that. We invite to the. This ain't everybody.
This is not for everybody.
This ain't for everybody.
Right? And so, like, the people that we are interviewing and are in our community, right? They're not the ones, oh, he got to do this, he got to do, because
Yeah.
there's a 80% chance that in our community, the women might make more.
Gotcha.
Right? So these are the people that we are inviting. But I have been pleasantly surprised when I asked what are their ideas around gender roles and all of that.
Yeah.
Everybody that I have asked, they say, I'm looking for a partner.
Gotcha.
Everybody's gonna play to their strengths to make it work. If you're good at the money, you do it. If I'm good at this, I do this.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've been very happy to hear that, right? Yeah, I might have been raised in a more traditional role. Like, if I need to put gas in a car, I'm cool with it. But also, if she doesn't want me to, I'm good with that
Yeah.
too, right? So I think that it is going to become more and more acceptable,
Okay.
or more and more common. The other thing is, when I ask people what you need them to understand about you, a lot of times the women, they would be, I guess, what people call alpha women, right?
Yeah.
They're highly successful, professional, all of that, and they're like, yeah, I'm this way at work. I don't want to have to come home and be that
Makes
way,
sense.
right?
Makes sense.
And when I ask, like, well, how ready are you for this relationship or your next relationship? And they'll say like a 9. I say, why a 9 and not an 8?
Yeah.
And the number one response I have gotten that has made me happy is that I've been to therapy, I've done the work.
Gotcha.
I'm healthy, right? I'm ready for somebody to just do life with.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a friend. I'm looking for a partner, right? And we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Play to our strengths. And so I think with that mindset, with a partnership mindset,
Yeah.
because people understand what they need, they know that it's not just about them.
Gotcha.
Right, and so especially if they work with me, I'm not going to allow this to be a one-sided situation.
Gotcha.
Right, both partners need to be satisfied mentally, sexually, physically,
Yeah.
emotionally,
Everything.
spiritually, like both of you.
And I'm glad you used, actually, you know what? Henceforth, I make this declaration.
Okay.
It's not about relationship, it's partnership.
Absolutely.
I like that because partnership means both people coming together, forming an agreement, right? Relationship, like you said, can be one-sided, one way or the other. A partnership agreement is completely different
Yep.
from a relationship agreement. So I like that. I like that terminology. Now, let's jump into transition.
Okay.
Touch into it a little bit. walking in your purpose.
Yep.
When did you, because again, I know this, you went to law school, graduated top of your class. You literally, I call it a checkbox. You literally were hitting
Right.
every checkbox, had a great job, bought a home, like everything. But why the switch?
Why the switch?
Why the switch?
So like I said, I think coaching is my purpose.
Okay.
At that season of my life, so I'll say this. I knew, so I started my job in like September of, I guess that's 2016.
Yeah.
I knew by Christmas that I wasn't going to be practicing law for the rest of my life.
Really?
Like I knew almost immediately. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I knew almost immediately, like, yeah, this is not it.
Okay.
Right? Of course, there's a learning curve, but after I got over the learning curve, and I'm like, this still doesn't feel.
Yeah, because you were
like
upward trajectory.
Yeah, like this doesn't feel good.
Feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's that emotion right there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to come down to the logic aspect of things, right? To the frontal lobe. Fear versus courage.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I'm a grown adult, I have mortgage, I have to take care of myself, I'm in this new city, I'm this, that, and the other. Because feel is an emotion. Then we have the logic aspect of things. How were you able to put the two together and say, I'm still gonna make this move?
Right. So it took a long time.
Okay.
So I knew by December of 2016 that I wasn't going to do this. I didn't quit until July of 2020.
Okay, so I'm glad you said it. Look at it right here. Folks, she's not telling you to feel and just say, you know what? That's it, I quit.
Yeah, no.
No. There's logic into that as well. So literally 4 years.
It took me for about 4.5 years. So it went through a lot of emotions in that period,
Okay.
right? Because even though I realized that this didn't feel good, I didn't think this was going to be me forever.
Yeah.
Then I felt ungrateful, right? You go to how many people when you say, "Oh, I'm a lawyer," "Oh, I wanted to go to law school," "Oh, like right," it's one of those
Got you.
professions
Got
that's
you.
admirable in society.
Got you.
And so here I am. And then I went straight to the government. Like I went
Yeah.
the Attorney General's honors program,
Yeah.
which is not
It's
easy,
not for
especially
everybody.
from a 4th tier law school, right?
Correct.
So it's not easy. So this is some people's dream job. Like people come here to retire, and this is my first job out of law school.
Correct.
And so then I'm like, well, am I being ungrateful? Right? So I struggled with that for a long time, with feeling ungrateful. Then I got to the point where I was able to say, you know, that doesn't mean that I'm ungrateful just because I don't enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
I can be good at something and not truly enjoy it, and that doesn't make me ungrateful.
This is true.
Okay, so I'm past the ungratefulness. It's okay that I don't like this. And you know, actually, I got that idea. I was reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming.
Okay.
And she is the first time that I heard that it's okay to not like this. And I was like, I cannot like this. Like,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Right?
I'm not mandated.
I'm not mandated to like this, like,
Yeah.
because this is like, so yeah. So that was the first time, and I'm like, so maybe it's not that I'm ungrateful. I just don't like this. I don't,
Yeah.
it just doesn't fuel me.
Yeah.
Right? I don't feel like I'm really doing any good. Like, so I got past that point, and then it was like, okay, so what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right? So even once I got over the learning curve at work, I was still miserable though.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you're just waiting to see what's next. But there was so much, my life was like completely in shambles, like every area. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like I was going through a breakup at the time. I had just moved here, so
Yeah.
I was like by myself. Work made me, like I cried every single day that I had to go to, like when I tell you every day, if I made it out the house without crying, I'm like, oh, today's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
And then I would get on the train. And as I
stop
would
crying.
get closer, and I'm like, this is embarrassing, like, because
Yeah.
the anxiety would build.
Wow.
Like, I would get like 2 stops from Judiciary Square, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta go to my office, close the door. Like, my
Yeah.
paralegal already knew, like, just give her a second.
Yeah.
But literally, every single day I had to go to work, I cried, like,
Wow.
every day. And I'm like, well, you already know what you're doing. Work was a lot. Like, I had
Yeah.
a big caseload and all that, but after 4 years, you know how to do
Yeah,
this. Like,
exactly.
it's not anything new.
Yeah.
But I'm still crying. And so your emotions are there to let you know, like, something is not right. Your body doesn't like something, right? Or if you're happy, it's telling you something that you do like.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you still crying every morning. I had to close my door. I would have a crying session and be like, all right, let's get to it.
Wow.
Right? And so it's like, why are you still crying?
Yeah.
I did my fast. The whole coaching thing came up. I went through my coaching certification. Then I felt like a hypocrite because I was working with people at night to help them figure out their life,
But
and I
you
got to
were
wake up in the
still-
morning and go to the job that I hate. So I'm like, okay, well, just give me some time. Like, all right,
Yeah.
let me save up some money, and then I'll quit. So I'm like, all right, give me 6 months. God told me to quit my job in December of 2019.
Yeah.
2019. I bought my house in November of 2019. I can't quit. I just
yeah,
bought a
no,
house.
that doesn't make
Are
sense.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right?
Math is no math.
I had wrote my resignation letter, but I didn't fill the date in.
Yeah.
So every time I would open my office drawer, I would see it there,
Wow.
but it didn't have a date.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just bought a house. I can't. I said, all right, give me 6 months.
You negotiating with God?
At least I thought I was. I thought I was. Give me 6 months. Let me build a nest egg, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like you said, I was negotiating with God, right? When he tells you to move and you don't, I feel like he makes it to a point where he's gonna make you move.
Yeah.
And so I felt like work got so unbearable that I couldn't do it anymore.
Gotcha.
All right, and so it was a Friday, May 1st, and I was sitting at my kitchen table. We was home at COVID at this point, writing a brief. Friday night, crying, doing the work. Again, this is nothing new. I've done this
Yeah.
multiple times, but I had been crying for days at this point.
Yeah.
And it just hit me, and I said, F this. I don't have to do anything that makes me feel like this.
Yeah.
So it definitely took me some time
Yeah.
to finally say, like, forget this.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know a lot of people think like, oh, I quit to follow my purpose and
Yeah,
all of that.
you already
And
knew your purpose.
I already knew my purpose. I just knew I couldn't do that job anymore.
Gotcha. You
Like,
couldn't one had to go.
one had to go. I felt like it was me or the job. Like
Gotcha.
I felt like I had to choose me. Like mentally, in terms of my mental health, like I had to choose me.
Yeah.
I didn't think that we could both
Coexist.
coexist at the
Yeah.
same time. So I had to choose me.
Makes sense.
So I feel like that's kind of a cop out because I felt like I didn't have a choice mentally.
Yeah.
If I was going to still be here, I didn't think I had a choice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And here you are.
I'm here.
Here you
I'm
are.
still here.
And here you are. Well, Coach E, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
There's gonna be a part 2 because I really want to see where this journey takes you. I'm actually excited, like super excited to see where your journey takes you. What, 3 years in now?
Yes, almost 3.
3 years. We're on
Okay.
like round numbers. 3 years in now, and you always humble, like, oh, I'm trying. I'm hanging in there. Like I said, you're doing pull-ups.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I think that's something else that, like, right? I'm always trying to figure it out, like what's next, which is definitely not a good thing because I
Yeah.
don't look at what I have done. I always look at the things that I want to do, right? Like
It's
I
the
look
lawyer
at
in you.
my books aren't done, like you know what I mean?
It's
Like
the lawyer in you.
so, yeah. I'm trying to figure it out so I can help more people
And
raise
that
their
you will.
emotional intelligence.
That you will. Sure, you definitely helped me, but that's neither here nor there. But I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.